what's going on, guys? How is it going? Welcome back to another tutorial video. In today's video, I want to show you guys the 7 best camera apps for your iOS or Android, doesn't matter, cross-platform, the 7 best apps for your smartphone coming up. Alright, so this video is hopefully one of the series of videos that I'm planning to make on mobile filmmaking and mobile photography. I realize that it's becoming a growing practice. I myself have used it especially on a travel video that's soon going to be coming out on my channel, so stay tuned for that. Basically, run and gun photography, the easiest way to do this is to pull out your camera from your pocket, basically. You literally have a camera wherever you go. And many people don't know how to take full advantage of their mobile camera. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that in this series. So let's get to the tutorial. Alright guys, so the first app that I want to talk about here is called HalID. So what this does is it's basically a miniature version of a DSLR camera. So if you scroll down here, it allows you to have a RAW file format. It says max for me because the iPhone 5S hardware doesn't support taking RAW pictures, but if your phone is newer than the iPhone 5S, then you should be fine. It allows the grid file format. It allows you to take flash pictures, and if you go into the settings right here, you can customize the quick bar. What's more is if you go into advanced settings, you can choose if you want to save raw or processed images. You can convert it into high efficiency or most compatible. I've set mine to take lossless TIFF in max mode because TIFF is an alternative to RAW, but it's slightly, it saves less image. It saves less information in its image, but it's basically an uncompressed JPEG file. So I'm going to go back here and just show you some of the other features. So as you can see here, it has a circle leveler, and once your phone is perfectly level, it has a yellow outline on the dot. So as you can see, if I move it out, it's not yellow, and if I move it straight there, and it's yellow. And you can also adjust manual focus. So if you take a picture right here, as you can see, it's taking a while to load up because I'm taking pictures in TIFF mode, but it also has its own gallery function right here, and there we go. You can look at your own pictures. Now if you go here, I don't know what happened, but you can also set grid mode, and here, if your phone is perfectly level, then it'll turn into a circle leveler, but if your phone isn't level, then it turns into this triangle leveler. What I mean by that is the leveler changes depending on which axis you're mainly trying to focus on. So if I go here, as you can see, if I change it right here, it turns into the circle mode. But if my phone faces up a bit more, then it changes into this kind of leveler, which I really like. It's a nice option. And another thing that you can also do is you can also get manual autofocus. Mine right now is set to autofocus right here, but if you can change it to manual. So if you can drag it back, there we go, back. So that's basically it, and that's basically it for the camera app here with HalID. So now moving on to the next app. Alright guys, so the next app that I have right here is called Hydra. Hydra is a really unique app. It doesn't necessarily allow DSLR-like qualities, but it's really special in what it does. So as you can see here, high res, and wait till it loads up. That's right, a 32 megapixel photo. Now my iPhone 5S, you might be saying, how is that possible? Because my iPhone 5S only takes an 8 megapixel photo with its front-facing camera. But as you can see, you can bump it up to either 12 megapixels, 16 megapixels, and 32 megapixels. Some $1,000 DSLRs don't have that enabled in the camera features. This is really special. Also with high res comes a double zoom basically, and there we go. You can zoom in as much as you want. You can also change the radius. The maximum is 4 times zoom. You can do either 2 times or 4 times. And you can also shoot low light pictures, video HDR, and normal HDR. If you go into the settings, you can save your unprocessed photo, because they do a bunch of processing to get that high megapixel count. So I'm just gonna take a high megapixel photo right here, just gonna focus right there. Alright, now one thing to keep in mind with this is you really should use a tripod for taking pictures like this, because what you can see here is they're taking multiple pictures and stitching them together to get a high megapixel photo and video HDR and all of that. So I'm going to lay my phone down like this. It'll be relatively straight, and I'm going to click. Okay, so this is the results that you get by using a tripod or making your phone stand up without any movement. Right now I'm not holding it, I've laid it down on a surface and it's looking down at my carpet right now. So it's going to finish taking photos. It takes about 60 photos, sometimes takes more than that. Right now it's taking 81 photos. Yeah, it just needs to capture all of that detail. So once it's done doing that, so right now I'm just going to go check. Alright, there we go. And there we go, high res. Okay, look at how detailed that is. You wouldn't get this much detail even with the newest phones out right now. But if you do if you do hand hold it and you produce a lot of shake, this is what happens. The processing stage has a hard time stitching the images together, and it gets a very like a glitchy picture, and it doesn't look nice at all. It looks very faked. So here we go. There we go. As you can see, could not take picture because of the shake. But let me just try and hold it as still as I can, and it's gonna take the picture, and let me show you what that's like. So it's taking 27, 28, 30, 30. It's almost done. 40, 50 pictures this time. So let's see how that goes. Okay, now waiting. Okay, there we go. New pictures loaded up, and as you can see, it looks relatively fine here. It's definitely not as clear as the other picture, but if you go here, it looks very glitchy. As you can see right there, it looks very glitchy over here, and that does not look good. As you can see, it looks horrible. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You can also take zoom pictures. Here, let me do that, and let me just take a zoom picture. So it's actually taking a lot of pictures, and once again, the reason for that might be because it's a very complex pattern. Normally when I'm taking like pictures of landscape pictures and everything, it doesn't take this many pictures. Okay, so it's taken the zoom photo. Let's see how that turned out. As you can see, it's zoomed in. There we go, 8 megapixels zoom. Okay, I'm gonna click done. And something that you can also do is you can change your megapixel count. So my rear-facing camera is 8 megapixels, but you can bump that up to 12, or you can lower it down to 3. That's why my normal low zoom picture looks so clear even when it was zooming in. You can also do HDR, and as you can see, you can check the intensity and the resolution. You can shoot this in 4K if your smartphone is or newer than the iPhone 5S. Since mine is an iPhone 5S, unfortunately it does not support taking RAW pictures. You can also choose the HDR for that. But that's basically it with Hydra. It doesn't have that much capability in terms of taking high quality, in its, it doesn't have that much features as in taking DSLR like quality pictures, but it's a great camera app nonetheless, and I use this a lot when I have the chance to take pictures. Alright guys, so my next camera app, this is gonna surprise you, is actually the default camera app that you can find on iOS, because there are a lot of features that you don't find in other camera apps found in this default camera app. Now you might be thinking, why? Well, first of all, when you're really doing run and gun photography, for example, when I was going to California, we took a bus tour, and outside the window, they were really great pictures, but you just didn't have the time to open up like HalID or Filmic Pro and take a picture. So most of the pictures that I took, you can check on my Instagram for the photos, most of them were actually taken from this normal camera app. And what's cool is they just added like a leveler. As you can see, the cross, it becomes orange when you fully line up your camera. And you can also take photos, square, panoramic photos, slow-mo, and time-lapse. So it's basically like an all-in-one camera app. And it allows you to pick filters, like that button, and take a time, like set a time before you take the picture, enable HDR and flash. But that's basically it for the generic camera app. Now let's go on to my next and possibly my most favorite camera app of all. So let's get on to that. Alright guys, so the next app that I have here is called ProCam, and this might be the most favorite app of all time that I have because of its functionality and the amount of things it has. It might look a bit cluttered up, but honestly, this really looks like a DSLR. So it has a leveler, as you can see. It's spinning right now because I can't. There we go. The blue line the line turns blue when your phone is perfectly leveled up, and you can use this scroll button to zoom in. That's a real nice function. I like that. It's very easy to use. You have your shutter speed, your ISO, your white balance, your manual focus, and it basically has all the functions that you can hope for. One thing that I would like, however, is it can record in RAW or the white balance HDR, and it says TIFF once again because my iPhone 5S can't record in RAW. But you can record RAW and have HDR pictures. It has to be only one of them, which I really don't like. But I'd like sticking with the TIFF mode because the iPhone 5S already does a really good job with its exposure and everything. And if you go into the settings right here, so let me just go into the settings. I don't really like the settings because I don't like the UI here, but you can change a lot of stuff like image stabilization, manual focus, peaking, zebra stripes, the histogram, and if you go into the video side, you can put on a copyright symbol, you can put a video timer, video stabilization. That's basically it. Video stabilization I really like because the iPhone 5S doesn't support it, and it allows it. So here you can go into photo, video, time-lapse, night mode, burst mode, or slow shutter. Now I really like that because the amount of customizability it has, it's amazing. It's basically like the stock footage, like the normal camera app that I had, except it's adding even more features on. And if you can see, there's also a level that says when your phone is completely when it's completely portrait. So there we go, it lines up. And what you can also do is you can adjust the grid, whether you want tiny grids, you want grids like that, you want a curved grid, or you want grids like this. And that's really cool. I really like that. You can, obviously I already said this before, you can take amazing time lapses, you can set your settings and everything, and overall it's one of the best apps that I've ever tried before. Now going on to my second most favorite app. Alright guys, so the next app that I have right here is called Moment. It basically has the same functionalities and customizability as ProCam before, but it doesn't have the extended modes such as the time-lapse mode, the night mode, the burst mode. It doesn't have all of that. It just has photo and video mode. And if you go into this setting right here, there isn't much you can do. You can enable histogram, location, and that's basically it you can do. The Moment camera app, you might have heard the Moment somewhere else before. The Moment is a company that makes camera lenses for smartphones, specifically the iPhone. Now with this camera app, you're allowed to change basically, the stuff that you can change in a DSLR, your ISO, your shutter speed, your exposure, and your focus and your white balance. You can also record RAW pictures in this, RAW and JPEG and TIFF. Once again, I don't think I need to repeat it. The reason why my phone doesn't take raw pictures. So I'm stuck with TIFF as my main high quality picture style. You can also set a timer and enable grid mode. It has the 3 types of grids. This box type, the normal rule of thirds grid, and an extended version of that. I don't like to stick with TIFF mode because if I take a picture with it, unless you have a really high RAM count on your phone, it takes a long time to load up another picture. So if I take a picture like that, it doesn't save the other pictures till the picture has finished processing, as you can see in this part of the frame where it's still processing the picture. It takes a while to get that done. And when I'm taking run and gun photos and I'm taking photos on the go, I don't have time to do that, so I don't really stick with this app unless I want to change the shutter speed and just take it really quick, or I don't have ProCam installed. I always use ProCam because it can take pictures far quicker than Moment, and it has a lot more functionality and customizability in it. So that's basically it for the Moment app. Now going on to the next app. Alright guys, so the next app that I have here is called Slow Shutter Cam. And if you haven't guessed what it is already, there isn't much to talk about this. If you haven't guessed it already, it's basically a long exposure photo. So if I take the picture and I'm shaking it right now, watch what happens when it's finished. As you can see, it just blends those multiple pictures together. I'm just gonna clear it because I don't want that photo. I don't really use this camera app a lot, but it's real handy when you're taking long exposure photos. I've used it a lot when I'm taking long exposure photos. You can go into this settings tab here, so just click on the 3 bars right there, and you can set a self timer and stuff like that. If you go into the settings, you can set the motion blur amount, light trail, low light. So yeah, that's basically. You can also set noise reduction, and as you can see, it's really helping the image. I think it really helped with the image. Right now it doesn't look as dirty as it did before. But that's basically it for the Slow Shutter Cam. Now moving on to the final app. Alright guys, so my final app, it might come as a surprise, it's actually the Stopmotion Camera app. Now the reason for saying this is you can click on a new movie, and if you go into the camera tab, you can take some pretty cool pictures, and it also lets you take in manual mode, and it allows you to take auto white balance, auto exposure, auto manual focus, and all this kind of stuff, and manual exposure, and it's just really amazing. And you can also do onion skinning with it, and you can take some really cool hyperlapses and other kind of stuff. I'm using the Pro version here, and I really suggest that you buy the Pro version. It's only like $3, because if you go into the settings, you can adjust the speed, and not only that, you can set backdrops, you can change the aspect ratio, you can set the foreground, and you can also upscale your footage into 4K. Not only that, you can use filters to help your footage look more cinematic, and you can add export it to YouTube and other kind of stuff. You can also add your voiceovers using this button right here. It's not letting me do it right now because I need to import pictures, but that's basically it. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe and like, and leave a comment down below what your favorite camera app was in this video. Mine was certainly either Moment or the Pro Camera app. And that's it for the video guys. See you guys in the next video.